What's up, y'all? Jakob Owens here, back for another tutorial, and today we're going to talk about how basically the shortcut to getting the most authentic film look possible. There's a few things that go into shooting film, getting that film aesthetic, and really quickly I'm going to try and break it down as quickly as I can. The first part of that is getting an actual authentic film matte, whether it's 18, 16, 35. These ones I have are from Tropic Color right here, and they're basically video overlays. So they have the movement to them, the overlay. You can see the 35 millimeter overlay here, and it's got some shake to it. The 16 with the double perforations on each side. Sorry, my computer's moving a little slow. And then the Super 8. So all of the film mats come with those three video mats as well as a PNG file. So there you can see the 16 millimeter here. And so this actually is a MOV file. So it actually moves and kind of jitters as, you know, when you lay it over your footage. And it's simple, you just drag and drop. All I did was take it from here, my media bin over here, drag it on top of my footage, overlay it on the footage, and boom, we have our matte. One quick tip to this though, depending on if it doesn't fit your footage or not, I had to scale it a little bit. And a real good trick that not too many people know is if your footage, like the overlays that you pick don't fit, you can reset your uniform scale here. So let's see, let's go back to what the original was. So here was the file when I dragged it on. Now, if I were to just scale this up with the uniform scale on, it's gonna scale everything up together. And so I'm not gonna be able to fit it to my footage the way I want it to fit. Like the edge up top is gonna disappear, before everything else. So what I wanna do is I wanna reset that, and you wanna uncheck uniform scale. Then from the uniform scale, I'm gonna drag the width, because I need the width to reach this distance here. I'm gonna just drag the width to like 108, and then these edges should stretch out and fit the frame. Boom. So now that we got our matte, next thing is the grain. Since, for example, I used 16 millimeter film matte here, I'm gonna wanna use 16 millimeter grain. So what I did is I took this 16 millimeter frame, film grain frame, whatever, overlay from Tropic Color, simply drag and drop that on to my timeline. And all I did was then take the blend mode. So I went into the effects tab here, blend mode, overlay. Then I just duplicated that throughout the whole timeline under the matte, because you want the film grain to be under the matte. So the matte's laying on top, film grain under the matte. So now we have our film matte, our film grain, and now we just need to adjust the footage. So here is where I have my color LUT, and then I have a blur. And the reason I have a blur on it is because digital footage, especially like new cameras, especially a red, they're so tack sharp, and so you need to blur your image a little bit to give it that older film look. Film cameras naturally, especially Super 8, 16, and a little bit of 35 aren't the sharpest like you would have in today's digital cameras. So I came over to here to the Gaussian blur, and I dragged the Gaussian blur onto the adjustment layer, and I simply took it. See, so you can see how sharp the footage is here. This does not look film because it just looks digital. It's too sharp, it's too clean. Film is not that sharp and clean. So we're gonna come in here, and I think I'm gonna take the blur to around 15. And then that should soften up my footage and image just enough, perfect, to give it that film look and aesthetic that I'm looking for. You can go a little more, a little less, whatever works for you. I'm gonna try 12. That might be a little too much on the blur. See how 12 works. Yeah, it's pretty good right there. So you can see the splotches, the film. Now my footage is blurred, and naturally film always has, it's not the most saturated ever. So I actually had to come in here and turn down the saturation a bit on my footage, because the red footage, the way I shot in IPP2, the saturation's up quite a bit. So I took it to 75 instead of the 100% that it was at. And then boom, I have the 16 millimeter film look. And I did the same thing over here with the 8 millimeter and the 35 millimeter. The exact same process, overlaying the matte, overlaying the type of film grain, whether it was 8, 16, 35, and then adding a blur. You're gonna have your strongest blur on the 8, a medium blur on the 16, and a less lighter blur on the 35. So the lower the number you go in your film, the more of a blur you're gonna have. 8mm, if I showed you raw 8mm footage straight from an 8mm camera, it's pretty soft. There's a little bit of a jitter to it. It's not sharp. And so yeah, that's just the process into getting your footage to look as film-like as possible. Hopefully this video helped. If you guys have any questions, hit the comment section below. Follow me at Jakob Owens on Instagram. Appreciate you guys for watching. I'm Jakob Owens for the Buff Nerds, and I'm out.